Welcome back, guys. So I recently picked up these wax aquarelle wax pastels. They're water soluble. It's a box set. It's 24 colors. They're completely out of order because I filmed this after I used them. They came with a pencil sharpener because they're larger than your regular pencils, a paintbrush, and a pencil. I've used water-soluble oil pastels before. These, I'm glad they're in a wooden shaving because these are softer and kind of tackier. They draw on you a little easier. The reason why I picked these up is I wanted to recreate a picture that I made over a year ago now. It was a bunch of colorful owls on canvas. I made it for my niece for Christmas, and I enjoyed making it so much. It, to this day, is one of my favorite things that I've made, and I thought that I'd kind of recreate it and update it using these wax pastels because I couldn't find water-soluble oil, but these were, these were on sale. And honestly, I really liked these. As you can see, once you add water, the vibrancy is huge. And you're able to get a lot of color out of just a little bit of pigment. And you're able to move it around really easily. Also, the fact that it's in a pencil, it was less messy. It wasn't getting all over my hands, so that was a nice change. So I wanted to recreate this picture. I picked some of my favorite owls. As you can see, I'm working on this pink and red one with green eyes. That is right here. In a little bit, you'll see me working on this big blue one with soulful eyes. And just next, you'll see me working on this little peekaboo green one. These were my 3 favorite owls from the original ones, so I kind of wanted to include them specifically in this art piece. Like I said, I've always enjoyed it, I've always loved it, and I just wanted to have a version of my own. I was so tempted to do so much of this video real time, but that would have taken several hours of your time, and I'm not sure you guys are willing to put up with me for several hours, nor do I have several hours of music or several hours of things to say about a particular picture. What I do want to say here is I wanted to show you guys a close-up of how water-soluble these are. The paintbrush I'm using barely has very much water on it at all, and they just melt away and become perfectly smooth. Then you go back over, and I tend to add a little bit more texture to bring back in some of the darks, but it's really nice. Here I am starting on the blue owl, and I'm not putting a lot of pigment straight on the paper. More than anything, I'm just starting to mix in various different blues so that way I can have different tones to my color. And look how smooth it kind of melts out too, and how bright that blue becomes just from that little bit of color. The paper I'm using for this is the Fabriano watercolor paper, cold press, 300 gram or 140 pound, 36 by 48 centimeters or 14 by 19 inches. So it's really big paper. I've never had paper this big, but I knew I wanted to recreate this picture at a decent size. The original piece was created on canvas, just cheap canvas that I had bought at Hobby Lobby. And I did not know at the time that you shouldn't really use oil pastels on canvas because there's no proper way to seal it. Oil pastels are always tacky and always smudgy, and there's no way to really protect it besides putting it behind glass. So my niece owns this picture that hopefully will last a while. I also made another one for my other niece and my other nephew. And who knows how long they will survive, but it was an experience. I did learn from it, and so here I am doing it on watercolor paper, which is a much safer choice. So here is one of the real-time part I kind of promised you guys, because I really wanted to show a nice close-up and realistic view of this material. It just melts away very quickly, much faster than like watercolor pencils. And there's just something nice about being able to draw your picture before painting it. I'm planning on experimenting with this material more, and you'll see later with my last owl that I really get into what you can do with this material, besides, you know, bright, colorful, obnoxious colors. You can use varying amounts of water. It pools very nicely if that's what you kind of want. You can push and pull the colors. You can mix them, or you can, you know, carefully keep them the same. And just look how well that melts away into like a mostly solid. I mean, it's cold pressed watercolor paper, so you're gonna have some texture, and I was going for some more texture, so I didn't really grind into it to make it perfectly smooth. But this is what you get. You can even go back and wet the pencil itself to get a more intense color if you want. As you can see, the strokes in here, since the pencil's wet, that black is much darker and more solid than if it was a dry pencil. So I mentioned that I was updating the original piece and not entirely copying it. What I did is I took the rainbow owls and fit them into a square, and then I took the time to draw a realistic owl. I'm very fond of barn owls. I've always loved their colors and their plumage and all that. And what I did is I sketched one out, and I used lots of different references. I went to Google and, you know, searched barn owl and looked at multiple different pictures. I don't like focusing on one picture because then you get into a question of, you know, copyright and use of that image. So I'd look at the feet of one owl and the head of another owl and the colors of another owl and kind of Frankenstein together my own picture by referencing so many other pictures. Moving forward with my barn owl, I really had to concentrate on layering to really get the proper colors and effect I wanted, especially when my experience with this material was just the rainbow owls to the left. I had to figure out how to get the natural tones and textures that I wanted for a realistic owl rather than, you know, obnoxious, childish, cartoony awesomeness. So I started with a kind of fleshy yellow tone color and then built up and went over my lines with this auburn red, went back and got a duller brown and then added gray. So I took my time really just going in and layering and layering and layering, really concentrating on the face first so I can really figure out what colors go where, experimenting with the back of the head because I knew that was going to be a darker area, so I had a little more freedom. And it was really a process of laying down colors, wetting those colors, laying down colors, wetting those colors. I didn't want to lose the pastel-y bumpiness of the rougher paper and the material, but I also wanted to have smooth coverage of the color. So it really was a back and a forth and a back and a forth and a back and a forth. And I kept going back and looking at those pictures and figuring out how this owl's colors are, I'm trying to figure out how I'd get that tone. I'm a bad artist. I did not thumbnail this very much. I did just a couple sketches. I didn't really test out the materials at all before I started this project. I really just kind of jumped in head first. I think the scrawler boxes are giving me a bad habit of that, but it was also really fun and exciting, and I've used a similar material before, so I wasn't terribly anxious when starting this one. When you're adding white to a picture like this, with this kind of material, not only does it make an area lighter, but it also can kind of take away some of your texture. So you need to be really careful when doing it. I feel like I managed to make it work for me in the end, but like at this stage you can really see this kind of almost, you know, waxy smudge on the wing. Like I said, I eventually, you know, made it work by going back and adding more texture on top and kind of giving it back to that. The feet were a little bit of a challenge. I was really anxious about it. One, it was very, very low in the composition. If I'm going to frame this, hopefully at some point I'm going to probably have to cover up a little bit of the feet, and that's a little sad. But that's what you get when you don't thumbnail a lot of a picture when you start drawing. The feet, I was anxious about making sure I kept the same color as kind of the body. I mean, generally the feet are very light colored, while the back and the wings are dark colored. So here you have, after I've managed to lay out all the colors and shadows how I wanted it, I'm really just going back in and making things a little darker, bringing back in my texture. I admit I kind of reached a point when I was working on this, I was kind of tired of recording and having to juggle looking around the camera and stuff. One thing I'm a little sad I missed on recording was I got to a point where I was just taking color right off the pencils with the paintbrush, and I was able to get a really cool texture across the chest of the bird because you had just only a little bit of color, and you got these nice horizontal curved stripes that I was really proud of and want to do something similar with another project in the future. It really shows you how important little bits of texture and darkness are to a complete piece. I try to be very, very light-handed with the water at this point, just to smooth out and really add a bit more darkness to some parts. And here we are, guys. It's one of the most relaxing parts of finishing a picture is pulling up your tape. Still using Christmas tree washi tape, but you really get your nice crisp line. It makes you feel good, especially when you had so many colors going on. I wish I would have taken some spare paper and covered up the white of this, because I did get some splatters and smudges outside of where I wanted the color and where I wanted it crisp and white, but that happens with all art pieces and you live with it. It was a really fun piece to do, and I'm honestly really proud of it. I mean, look at those birds. Those are cool birds. Hope you guys enjoyed me exploring a new material today and doing a little bit of a draw this again meme, and enjoyed seeing some owls, because, you know, owls are cool and stuff. As the general YouTuber kind of stuff goes, like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram or something. I don't know. I hope to be making some more art with you guys soon. Bye.